Welcome, everybody, to the CableTime podcast, episode 4. Today I have with me John and Kim. Kim is my sister. Kimberly, well, if you know my last name, you know who she is. That was kind of weird. But John is her fiance. We've known John over a year now, and he's come over here in California, and we're all chilling here and just making money and living life. How are you guys doing today?
Not too bad. It's been kind of a weird long day. Long, but also not feeling long enough. So.
Also with me today, I have Jordan, my lovely wife. Hello, Jordan.
Hello, hello.
That was a late introduction, but I saved the best for last. It's okay.
Thank you.
It sounded condescending.
How are you enjoying the drink I made for you?
Let me see.
Doesn't taste like Mountain Dew or whiskey.
You know what it tastes like? It would be like if I tasted like... It's almost like I would imagine what sugar wood water would taste like. But like in an earthy, like, healthy way. But it's totally not healthy because it's totally sugar and whiskey.
Sugar and a bunch of alcohol.
Yeah. So it has nothing to do with
organic
it. I think it's the rye.
No, definitely the
it's
wheat.
a very powerful taste of the... It's nothing special. It's Jack Daniel's rye.
I mean, I got a little short history on it.
You know, it's really good. What? Oh, on the drink. Yeah. How is it?
So,
what's the originality?
So the origin, at least this is what, Wikipedia, I mean, take it with a grain of salt, says the origin of this drink was actually the fact that back when, they were called soft drinks, they were meant to be mixers with alcohol. But the Barn and Alley Hartman developed Mountain Dew as a mixer in the 1940s because they didn't like the way anything else tasted with whiskey. Specifically just because they wanted a whiskey mixer.
That's interesting. That's so funny. I actually think that's really cool. They invented something for that. I love Mountain Dew. Baja Blast too. That's like my favorite.
I like Diet Mountain Dew better than regular Mountain Dew.
That would taste good.
How would Baja Blast taste with this?
I mean, I don't know.
Oh, dude, you know what? No, Baja Blast with a rum. Probably something like Captain Morgan.
I would say Baja Blast
spiced rum.
with like a vodka, actually.
I think both.
Yeah, Mountain Dew. Yeah, especially if you throw in some actual fruit.
Mm-hmm. We should do that.
Maybe put a little bit of heavy cream in there and make it like a thick cocktail or something.
Yeah. Nice shaking cocktail.
I'm getting ahead of myself now.
Yeah. I'm happy you're here today, John.
Oh, yeah.
It's really awesome
Excited
to
be
have you
here.
Yeah.
Been
John
looking
is
at the calendar day for the last month.
Yeah, dude. We are potentially looking at a new member of our family here and seeing if we is able to pass through the ringer.
Definitely put me to the test, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Got a long way to just go.
Yeah, but tell me about yourself, John. Since...
So, a little short backstory on me. I was born in Arkansas. Was only there for about 2 months. Moved to Oregon. There only for less than a year, and grew up and lived in Washington my entire life, pretty much. I moved around a lot, done a lot of little things, kind of get to myself. That's really all there is about me. I'm, a generous and kind person, and always willing to give a hand out when it needs.
So tell me a little bit about Arkansas, because it's obviously way different than what I've experienced in Los Angeles, and even probably just as, I'd say the closest I can probably get is Spokane. And I'd say even then it's only like, that's probably only like even a quarter away of what I think that is.
I'd say at the places I know you've been to, it's very similar to Florida. So you think it's you walk outside, it's instant sweat. But you know how you see, like in Washington, giant swarms of birds, right? Sometimes think that, but millions, if not billions, of mosquitoes. Yes, and I'm not even joking. It looks like the Day of the Dead is upon us. Basically, the world's ending when you're not used to it. You get there and it's rice fields for days, just all swamp, snapping turtles crawling over the highways.
Oh man!
I mean, I personally, even though I was born there, would never go swimming in any open river because you can get something. Yeah.
Sometimes people come to the door in the house we live in, and they bring my babies to me who need to eat, and that's okay, and that's why these things happen.
Bar being a dad, right?
Welcome back. That was a short break, and you didn't even notice it because I cut it out. John was talking about Arkansas and the mosquitoes and how it's like death out there.
Yeah, it's definitely a different world. I mean, I lived in Arizona for a little bit, you have scorpions and rattlesnakes or whatever else, But, you can't even go in the water there. I mean, people do every single day. I don't know what in the right mind. It's like, might as well be swimming with a shark, in my opinion, because you be having an alligator, giant snapping turtles.
Oh, gosh.
Everything, there's everything in the water there. Plus, it's all nasty looking anyways. It looks like sewage to me half the time when you get swamp water. No offense, Arkansas. I love the place, but I would never live there.
Yeah, I would never want to live there. I would never go places I would never go live. Florida.
Especially with all the hurricanes and tornadoes you got to deal with.
Where would you never go live? What about you guys?
I would never go back to Arizona because of just all the scorpions and rattlesnakes and all the crazy heat and stuff there. But yeah, I don't know. Australia, I definitely know for sure out of all the places that I've lived is Washington is the best, the state for me.
It's like the most mild state. There's not any natural disasters you really have to worry about.
You know what I love about Washington? There's just seasons.
Oh yeah, the seasons are like really, really, picture perfect. Fall especially, it's super orange up there.
Yeah, it's really awesome that there's like a lot of. It's just experiencing everything, like snow and rain and things I never got to experience in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's like almost like a movie.
I briefly covered this in another podcast I did with Andrew, but it's just that's just talking about the environment. That's just a side subject. Anyways, so you say you moved around a lot then.
Mm-hmm. I've lived in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Colorado, Arkansas, and Indiana.
So where would you say your story started?
For me, because I after I was born, I wasn't really in any other state. I lived in Washington pretty much my entire life. I would say at least 18 to 19 years has been out of my 21 has been in Washington. So
due to that's home.
Yeah, it's my home. I've lived in a lot of states. I've been visited a lot of states. Nothing feels like home except for that.
I think everybody at this table can say that that's home.
Yeah,
at least something like that's home. That's pretty much
Definitely.
Kim, my fiance, I always told her when I first met her, I'll take the city out of you. You're gonna love mud, you're gonna love this and that, and guess what? Now she's got an '89 Bronco with a 6-inch lift.
Yeah, I do not want to live here. That's another brief thing I talked about. Man, that's enough about what I talked about. I want to hear about you.
So I came here on the podcast today to talk a little bit about what it was like growing up with a stepdad and not knowing who my biological father was.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't really remember the first time I kind of realized my dad wasn't my dad. He was my stepdad. They always said it, but I always called him my father because he really was. He was there from a very young age, worked a lot of hours, and I'm the only one on both, my mom's side of the kids he's not my biological father. And it's not like my parents shied away from answering questions and all that. It was more or less they just lack of information. My mom literally all she knew was he was in Arkansas in 1998. His name was James White, and that was about it. Quite literally.
That was all.
Yeah.
No other information. So.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was the 80s,
90s,
80s. Yeah. That was the era.
Kind of thing, especially the southern area.
Yeah.
From my understanding, at least.
I think that's what it was. It's an interesting. I mean, it's part of that era of America. Oh, it's really interesting.
Especially because my mother was such a rebellious person at that time, at that age. I mean, before she was even 18, she managed to somehow get an apartment with her sister that was even younger than her. My mom got arrested, or at least a warrant out for arrest at one point because she was writing false checks because she didn't know how it worked. She thought it was like, oh, just here's some money, here you go.
Oh, man.
Yeah, she had some pretty serious trouble for that one. She used to even be a smoker, and she quit as soon as she found out she was pregnant with me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My mom...
Oh, kudos.
Yeah. But now she's she attends church. She's a, Christian, You go to church every single time they have availability. But she works like crazy. Her and my stepdad are workaholics, and I strive to be like them.
Is your stepdad also a Christian?
Yeah, he's the one that I would say probably really... I mean, my mom went to church with her friend Bobby, how she met my dad. But she wasn't. I would say from my knowledge, she wasn't like super into it. But as soon as she met him, they both been going, and he's been going his entire life.
Okay, so they met through the church,
mm-hmm.
And so your stepdad's a workaholic. So what was that like growing up? Since since you obviously saw him as the only
with the lack
father
of
figure
having
you
a
had,
biological father, and the tensions being tight between me and him because we didn't always get along. The fact that I appreciate everything he's done, and I don't want to go back to say he should have been there for me more. He was doing what he needed to at the end of the day, but I do wish there was times where we spent more time together. That I felt that's like the biggest thing I lacked from him was just one-on-one, even with my little brother. I felt like the attention was more on my brother than myself, whether it was my own doing because of the jealousy, or if it was just how it was. But I can't say because I don't really know. It was young. When you're upset and you're just,
you do things when you're young. I mean, my
Yeah.
brother did things like that. He picked on me. My cousins picked on me and my other cousin together, and it got to an age where my brother actually started standing up for me, and it was really awesome to see my brother hit that age of maturity. It was just being the little brother on the other end of that. It's actually really cool to see.
Yeah.
When you see your family joining together.
Looking back on, I feel terrible for how I treated my little brother. He didn't deserve any of it. He's even to this day, he's such an innocent person. You met him.
Yeah, he was
just
really
got
cool
a
dude.
smile.
I liked
he's
him.
Quiet. He doesn't say no. You ask him to do things. Okay, here you
He's
go.
chill. He was just chatting up.
The easiest way to describe him, he's a pothead without ever smoking. That's what he's like. That's his personality. He just sits back and
just
he's
naturally
just what?
Quite literally.
just chill. That's
I mean,
really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you would never even know that he's got a disability of being completely deaf in one ear and half deaf in the other. And
Wow.
You talk to him and it sounds like you're talking to a normal person. He's not. He'll be like, "Huh, what?" But that's rare. But like I was saying, looking back on it, I didn't treat him fairly. And I'd say right around when I turned 18, around Christmas time that year, I kind of was having some deep thoughts. I realized I was kind of a dick brother.
Yeah.
For quite a long time, and he didn't deserve it. So I actually bought him his first Xbox One for Christmas. I took 3 paychecks to pay for it, working at Burger King on part-time. It took 3 whole paychecks. That's 6 weeks almost.
Dude, that's really awesome.
Oh, yeah. And then he only had it for about a week before my sister poured a 2-liter Coke down it.
Aw, dude.
Yeah, I was a little pissed off. At least.
Why? What's up with little siblings not respecting stuff?
Let's see. I have 5 sisters from just my mom.
Siblings don't
I'm
respect
21.
stuff.
My youngest sister's 2.
I don't know.
respected your stuff.
Yeah, but you're 1 sister versus 5. They're insane.
It's just it didn't mean that things didn't happen. I mean, I don't know. That's just something I noticed.
Kind of back on topic, but I mean, growing up a lot, especially with how I said I treated my brother with jealousy and didn't tell you along my stepdad. I always dreamt, especially when I was like really, you as a kid, you get depressed really badly sometimes, and you don't know how to express those feelings or where your thoughts go. But a lot of it for me was, because the question I was always asked and I dwelt on my mind the most was, what do you want to do when you're an adult? What do you want to do when you grow up? I imagine everything from being a war soldier to, being a NASCAR driver. That was the one thing because I have an obsession with vehicles. I always projected myself once onto who my biological father could be. I didn't, I mean, I got along with my dad, my stepdad. He's in reality he's my dad. That's kind of what I'm referring to probably for the rest of the podcast. My dad and my biological father.
Yeah.
But I tried to be a lot like him because he is, headstrong, puts his foot down, goes to work, works 3 days in a row, taking a 3-hour nap and going right back to work and not coming home for days, just to put food on the table and put a roof over our head. I appreciate what he does so much, but it doesn't mean we don't get along. I can appreciate someone, but it doesn't mean I'm always getting along. But recently, a lot better. But yeah, like I was saying though, I mean, projected myself once onto who my biological father could be. From being a NASCAR driver to being a soldier to being an actor, a millionaire, billionaire, whatever you want to say, whatever you could think of as a kid is what I thought of him as.
That's.
So when you were a kid, was that like a happy place to go to?
Yeah, it was. It really was. It was a coping mechanism, and big time. It was for me. For the people that know me, at one point was 410 pounds. So my 2 coping mechanisms was shoving food down my throat. I really liked Oreos, by the way, and then thinking about who my biological father could be, and like I said, projecting myself once and future jobs I would love to have onto him. Wanted to be like my biological dad or even my real dad. So.
Do you ever think that had like a negative, side, or, if you're thinking about, or yeah, when you're younger, I can see more of like in an adolescent way, having it be more of like a happy place, but maybe in teen years it would be, maybe in maybe certain anger triggers would make you go places like, this
very
is
dark places. You're completely spot on with that situation. I mean, with the information you shared with me earlier, I mean, one of the things not knowing who your biological father is, you have a lot of self-identity issues. And I had a lot of attitude issues. I had a lot of... I just didn't know how to deal with my emotions, and I didn't like talking about them. It didn't make me feel comfortable. I felt very awkward.
So you didn't like talking about him.
I still barely talk about him. I only talk to him about Kim half the time.
But if you wanted to talk to him about him, were you able to?
No, I mean, honest and real, like, truthfulness. Kim's the only person I've ever felt confident to tell, majority, if not all.
Okay.
I mean,
I didn't like.
It's just a
Could
blind
you
trust.
ask your mom?
I mean, I could have. I mean, I always ask my mom. I asked my mom questions about my biological father 3 times that I can remember. Might have been a few more, but it was more or less. I felt like I was being disrespectful. Not that they ever told me that. Not at all. Not even close to that. I respected my dad so much that I didn't want him to think I was trying to replace him, because that's not what it was. It was.
So it's for respect.
It was more. I felt like he deserved the respect that I should at least wait until I'm out of the house. Or something, I felt like he deserved that at least.
Okay.
I wanted him to adopt me at one point, but when you're adopted, say my biological father passed away or something like that, I don't have any legal rights to any of his information, birth certificates or anything like that, if I was adopted by someone else.
Okay.
But at least that's the information I've been told. So.
Well, that's awesome that you were put into a home with, I mean, your substitute father was able to fulfill everything that you did. I mean, fulfill that role for you. And I mean, in many cases, people, are born into, crazy families. So
to say the least, my family is very, very out of the norm, to say the least. I mean, you see the movies where, you guys are Italian, part Italian. You see them fight like, it's like that on an hourly basis. Not necessarily, I mean, most of them, but it's weird because everyone has the expectancy, even though you might have just screamed bloody murder at someone. 30 minutes later, you're all back to normal.
Yeah, that's typically how it works in both Italian and Mexican, some Jewish families.
Yeah,
a lot of.
But to the outside people, it's very offensive. But when you're such a close family like mine was, it's such a norm. Yeah. And when someone outside comes, it's like they don't know they don't know anything else.
Yeah, I think people don't. This is just a tiny little side note. I just think people just don't like to admit that their families fight.
That's all I tell.
And then the families that don't fight, I feel like those are the families that self-implode.
Oh yeah,
they just decay.
I mean, that's one thing I deal with personally. I mean, like I said, I've never really had a healthy outlet for my emotions growing up because I didn't know how to. And no one ever really talked to me about them. In the times my dad did talk to me about them, it was really awkward because he didn't really know. I mean, not to put him in a bad way, but he didn't really know what to say or how to say it. He even told me that himself later on. I mean, especially when he tried to do what is it called? The sex talk, basically.
Oh yeah.
That was the most awkward thing. We
were
were driving down my hometown of Elma, down the main strip, and he starts talking about it after we got ice cream. Right? I literally opened the door and tried to jump out. No, this is a true story. He literally grabbed my shoulder and said, "Close that door, please." I was like, I said, "I'll close it. You stop talking about this." I was like, you know who my grandfather is, right? The most perverted man on the face of this earth. You don't think I know what sex is at 12 years old at this point? How many times I've walked in and seen stuff on computers I shouldn't have? Viruses that were caused by, nieces and nephews. I was, my grandfather, for the information and things I didn't get from my dad, I definitely learned a lot from my grandfather.
So it was almost like an interesting thing. It was like you were able to move your persona of what you saw a father figure between
multiple people. Yeah,
that's really cool.
It was anyone that I felt like was a good person at heart, not necessarily that they were a good person.
It was not just anybody. You picked them.
They had to be, even if they weren't necessarily a good person or they made bad choices, as long as I could tell that they were good at heart. It was just someone, I could admire in some sort of way. For example, my grandparents' neighbor, Ethan. To be flat out honest and truthful, he's a drunk. He really is. I don't admire him for that, but for how he appreciates his kids and how even when he's, in his worst lows, he still does the most he can for them. he's got his leg broken in half by a 2x4 that dropped 20 feet off the thing into a forklift and shattered his leg or something like that. But he still does whatever he can. He side hustles. And he sells grass out of his his shop to make some side money for his kids to buy him nice things.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And he made me feel at home when I was there. His friends with his late son that passed away a couple years ago, sadly due to a car accident. But I was really good friends with him, and I stayed at night. They fed me all the same. He called me his son. It was really nice. It was something different, but again, not replacing my dad. It was nice. It felt like I had brothers.
Yeah, it was like another side of just like extension.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
It was just.
I think of that as the sort of superpower kind of, because people who go through suffering or some sort of like emotional trauma of some sort, they develop some sort of superpowers that kind of help them throughout life to cope and to succeed better. And I think you would be like clinging to the people, the strong male figures in your life that are around you, instead of, because you see that your stepdad is not biologically related to you, but he is still like awesome and fulfills that for you. And so I think you can move on in your head. You can move on and say, okay, and this person too, and take certain aspects of
certain aspects of certain people. That's definitely for sure.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, they kind of look at their parents and they're like, oh, I'm going to be like them. And that might be a mental block too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say the people that I surround myself, even like I said, if they weren't necessarily good people but good at heart, they definitely shaped my view on the world. I mean, this is a question for all three of you. I mean, on a day-to-day basis, do you ever see me mad, angry, or... I mean, I'm always happy to see everyone. I'm always, I'm not necessarily complaining about anything. If I am, it's something, dumb and, minute and just complaining about how crappy work is or something like that. But, I mean, do you ever really see me in a bad mood, ever?
No, never.
I mean, Kim...
I think it's different for me, though, because, like you've explained, you express your emotions a lot deeper and better to me than you really do to anyone else. It's almost like you keep to yourself until it becomes like a time between me and you. And then I think it's just that sigh of relief where you can get things off your shoulders a lot better.
Brain dump.
Yeah. I mean, in reality, Kim has been the only place where I felt in confidence that I could speak about, because there's been times where even in church I tried to talk to someone about something and they went and told my parents. Every time I've talked to someone, they always bring it up to everyone else, and it just... But when I mean, not necessarily, they were trying to help, but that's not what I wanted. Or, they would be like, grow up. Right. It's not the answer. I'm having issues with trying to understand how I feel. I mean, what am I supposed to do? I mean, I'm 21, I'm still young. I mean, I'm barely legal to drink at this point.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, even me being a 27-year-old, almost 27-year-old, just finding your place. I think just as a man in this world right now is kind of difficult. I think it's a very, for all men, all men, I think, across all walks of life right now, because I think there's a definite attack on masculinity. I know it's not to make it it's not a political thing. It's just...
I felt that a lot in school. I mean, at least for me, growing up in school, it was almost like I wasn't allowed to be masculine at times. I mean, I was made fun. I've been called gay my entire life by everyone just because I was different than people, because I didn't have girlfriends. It wasn't something I wanted at the time. But, I mean, it messed, that right there, that word messed with my head so much.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot. I mean, I almost pushed myself off into a freezing cold river in the middle of winter because of that. I mean, because I didn't know how to feel, and because I wasn't, constantly dating people who were having sex in middle school or anything like that, or even early high school. They were telling me I wasn't, and, I wasn't a man, or I wasn't this, I wasn't that. And then at the same time, I was also being told I wasn't allowed to be masculine. Like, close your legs, just because you're drunk down there doesn't mean you can spread. It's natural. It's not like I do it on purpose.
John is a rather large fella.
Yeah, 6'1", 330 pounds, 320 pounds.
But,
big guy.
So obviously a lot of stuff, you notice that there's been repercussions of your biological father being absent. I mean, that's just, would you say that?
Oh yeah, most of, I mean, like I said, my family likes to argue a lot, but I especially when I was younger, I had some really bad times trying to express my frustration, and a lot of it came out in really bad, angry bursts. Like I was, don't remember the full story, but there was one time where most of my family was living in this apartment complex. It was 6 units, and we had this big backyard. And my cousins were riding, motorcycles, and it was my turn to ride on it, but I don't know if I got in trouble or if I was told to go in the house and do something, or I wasn't allowed to ride because I didn't finish dishes or something. It was something like that. But in pure anger, because I was already in a bad mood that day, I kicked a hole through not only our front door wall, but into my, the neighbor's wall.
Jeez,
right through.
Dude.
Mind you, I was a 6th grader. And it didn't get fixed for like 2 years.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But you found a way to overcome a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
I would say as much as school tore me down, they also helped me coping-wise with a lot of things. But, I mean, the one thing that is such a bad habit is me coping with food. I mean, like I said, at one point I was 410 pounds. At 16 years old. That's it was horrible. I mean, the day I needed to grab my dresser on the side of my bed to get out of bed one day was the day I had enough.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it was a lot of my weight gain had to do with besides something that had happened prior, but a lot of it was, like I said, emotional trauma from not necessarily caused by anyone, but just not understanding where I came from. I felt emotionally disconnected from myself, felt loneliness, emptiness, things I couldn't describe, and I had no answers for. No one else had answers for. But, you're always going to feel the emptiness, but I felt like a lot of those in just the last year have been answered because I did find my biological father.
Oh, so, yeah. Oh, you did?
Yeah, thanks to Kim.
Wow.
I got to the point where it had been so long for me, I didn't even want to find him. I was too scared. I was honestly just too scared. But, I mean, she can talk about it real quick about what she did.
I'd love to hear
it. So, when I first met John, I obviously didn't know that he didn't know his biological father, but like as time went on and he got more comfortable with me, he started to explain that like he had this urge just to find his biological dad, and I was just kind of like, okay, well, what are you gonna do about it? And he didn't try anything. He kept just like pushing it to the side. So I do remember, before I even did anything, I was going to go buy him a DNA test. Just so, because, Ancestry has been helping people.
DNA to the government.
Exactly, sells DNA.
I'm in there with you, bro.
So,
I'm surprised it's I sold to the devil.
Before I even bought the DNA kit, though, I went to his mom. I didn't want hurt feelings. I didn't want to overstep boundaries. I didn't, I wanted to make sure that both his mom and his stepdad were going to be okay with it, because I didn't want to do something that they were going to get angry with me for doing. And I remember that I was so excited that I had bought it back in November. And I was so excited that I couldn't even keep that it was a Christmas gift. I literally was like, as soon as I bought it, I was like, hey, so, John, I bought you a DNA test. I want you to find your dad because, I wanted him to reach that dream. I knew that was a dream he had. And, just going through it, and he finally found one of his sisters. And, he got in contact with the mom. And he was talking to her. And finally he was like, hey, I know I don't want to cross lines. I don't want your daughter, I don't want to harm your daughter in any way. I don't want to because it's an adoptive mom. And, I don't want to cross lines. I just want to know if you have any information about, my dad. And, so she was like, she had to think about it, and then she remembered that she had all his information because obviously her adopted daughter has his name on the birth certificate. So he went from there, and funny story is that probably like 3 months before that, he had just randomly looked up James White, and he found his dad, which was
Wow.
hilarious.
Yeah, I actually came across the
He
same
came
guy that
across
Wow,
this
that's
exact
crazy.
we
picture.
thought it wasn't the right guy.
Because
He was the third person to pop up on Facebook. And he looks a little older. I mean, at the time he had a white beard, so I was like, well, he's supposed to be like 47.
Oh, you were so close.
And he's in a it was ironic. It's all because when I was like, wait, this kid.
So there you go. So I bet you when you were a kid, you're like, oh, I wonder if I'll ever meet my biological father and not even realize it. But you did. There you go.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, that's something I was. Oh yeah.
There you go.
But here's the interesting part of that story that Kim just told. So mind you, my biological father had his first kid at 14.
Oh wow.
Very, very young, like extremely young. He was a hustler. He was a man.
He was getting around.
Oh yeah. Illinois to Arkansas.
He was a slayer.
Yeah. He definitely was the bad boy. That's probably why he attracted everyone. So.
That
came out wrong.
No.
I mean, he did end up in the Sons of Silence, which is a known terrorist organization. They're a biker gang, so Hell's Angels equivalent, basically. I mean, he had the same thing. He found his biological father when he was about 20 years old.
And now we've connected our family to a terrorist organization for
he was only with them for about 4 years.
For our beliefs.
So from my understanding, when he found his biological father, his father had been in it for years.
Yeah, wow.
And he basically was, I don't know if he was forced in it or if he was convinced to do it due to whatever was going on in his life at the time. But I mean, I don't know the exact amount, but my biological grandfather went to prison for kilos of methamphetamines.
Whoa.
And eventually died about 2 months after I was born.
Wow.
Yeah, completely unaware. My biological father has 9 kids from 9 different baby mamas, and ironically, the one sister that pops up on our ancestry DNA is the only one that has his name on his birth certificate.
Whoa.
Out of all the 9 kids that are known of, she's the only one that has his name on the birth certificate.
It was fate.
Quite literally.
It was fate. It was meant for you to find them.
It was real.
Even though you found them.
But and the other thing, I was so in shock and so excited to find someone else that was related to another sibling that for like 2 months I was like texting the lady back and forth over email and totally forgot about my biological dad when I was looking for the original one. I was just so excited to finally find more family. And I was like, wait, I clicked my head, like, wait, I haven't asked about my biological dad. But I mean, I'm not gonna go into his story, what he's done. I mean, he wasn't never necessarily the best person.
Yeah.
He's made a lot of poor choices. He's ended up in prison a couple times. It's all public records. I mean, but he had an accident. I think he said it was 16 years ago or something like that, where he was doing something electrical wise and something happened. He fell and broke his back.
Oh man.
Put him in a wheelchair, and I think he's kind of turned his view on the world around quite a bit. Because as he told me before, he's like, as selfish as it might seem, I really wish I was there, but at the same time, I'm glad I was never there in your life at the beginning because I was such a bad person, and not necessarily a bad person, but not good, in mental state or in reality or whatever you want to say. He's like, I probably would have corrupted you, and you probably would have never been talking to me at this point. We would probably have
you
no
might have been
relationship.
gone down a bad path.
Well, from my understanding, most of his kids don't even talk to him.
Wow.
So he's got 2 in adoption or something. I don't know the exact story. Since it's like, I'm not gonna pick and pry at him for information.
Of course.
I'm just happy I found him. I have a 32-year-old sister. I have I have a 28-year-old sister, a 28-year-old brother, another sister that would be 28, but she passed away around 6 years old. She died shortly after I was born too.
Wow.
About I think a week or two before, between my grandfather and the side of my sister passed away around the same time. Wow. So. Very very interesting.
So you got in contact with him.
Oh yeah.
What was that like?
It felt like I was living in a movie, like one of those Hallmark movies. It just it's one of those things. Even to this day, it doesn't. It's almost. I almost want to go get another DNA test just between me and him, just to make sure. Yeah. It just doesn't feel. Doesn't feel. I mean, 21 years. It just constantly. It literally. It was a daily thing on my mind every single day of my life.
And then you were finally presented with it.
And now it's just like that was such an important thing to me to find him, but at the same time, like I said, I was too scared to find him. I almost feel lost again. I feel more whole as a person, knowing a lot more about myself and where I get some certain attributes from. But at the same time, I almost feel lost again because that was such a main focus in my life. It's like, well,
that's really
what else am I pushing for now? What's next? What else do I need?
That's a really big goal to accomplish, especially. I mean, that's something I can't relate to because I grew up with my dad, my biological dad, and I don't project what I perceive as my father figure onto other people. And it's not because I can't. It's because I believe in my heart of hearts that my dad's intentions and who he is as a person have always had, or God's will,
he was just meant to be there,
present in the decisions he made for me. And I felt it was very important in his life for us to know that and understand that. And he passed the information on to us. And it's something that gave us a lot of freedom in knowing that the decisions he made were made to benefit us. And they gave us a lot of opportunities in life to discover ourselves and discover, what we wanted to do, even as far as being homeschooled. It gave even more of an opportunity for us to define our freedoms and in who we decided who we were as people. But my dad stood as the pillar of what I saw as a man to strive to be, along with, on top of even greater, I see my Lord Jesus. That's the honest truth, is that is who I see as my ultimate father figure. So it's just how I grew up, though. That's how I see it. And I mean, other people have tried to kind of facilitate that role. Some people have been able to, most people have not. And it's mainly because I'm not a very trusting person. I mean, but it's because I'm very private with who I allow in that space to be to influence me. And I don't want just some random dudes influencing me, or people who don't meet the standard of even just the bare minimum of my dad.
Oh yeah,
that's the bare minimum right there.
And I mean,
that's I'm bragging. I'm gonna brag right now. That's pretty high up the pole for a lot of dads nowadays, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, your dad. I mean, even though I haven't talked to him much, because he's a very quiet man.
Yeah.
And the little personal insight to me, quiet people like that scare the living hell out of me.
Oh yeah.
Well, because you just never know what they're thinking. You never know what's in their mind. They're not very expressive people, and But the thing is when you mess up, you really know you messed up, because it had to have been something.
When they have to say something,
you
know that you did something
bad,
wrong, or at least they perceived that you did something wrong.
But I mean, the respect I have for your dad is just astronomical, because of he let me into his home. You guys barely know me. We've known each other for almost about 2 or 2.5 years, but at the same time, we never were really able to connect. We were always.
We're here now, though.
But yeah, but at the same time, the fact that you guys almost blindly let me in the house.
Of course.
In trust and then connection I've built with you guys over the last little.
Why would we ever tell people who needed help no?
Oh, well, I'm not saying that.
No, I'm not saying anything that's bad. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. It's nothing. But it is all. I'm happy. Honestly, I really mean that. I want you to both understand that. I'm happy.
Oh yeah, and trust me, that was, especially in the last, I would say, 6 or 7 years. This is one of the happiest times I've ever had. I have just being here, not paying off all my debt. I'm being dumb and young that I made for myself. I feel almost like it's a big stress reliever. It beats all the medication I have been put on throughout the years. It's just I feel happier here, a lot happier. I feel like a more connected family. The atmosphere here, I feel, at the end of the day, no matter how bad work was or how bad just going out and doing my errands I need to run. Even if we have a fight here, it's nothing, because at the end of the day we can all sit down like adults and talk about it.
And that's what we set the precedent for. I'm really happy. That's something I've realized about myself and how I want to deal with situations. I've realized there's a lot of self-respect I'll have for myself. First off, with most confrontational situations.
It's something you guys taught me as well, having respect for myself, which I don't think I've ever really had.
Yeah,
to be honest.
That is one of the most important things to have, I think, when it comes to confrontation, especially in family matters. And secondly, I think what's also most important is in a family dynamic where you can be expressive and talk. I think that's a really important thing for a lot of people to have, and I think that's something that's very genuine and missed.
I would say your guys' family dynamic is very unique because even when there has been, outbursts of, frustration, we were able to, like I said, calm down and sit together, kind of laid some ground rules about talking, and then talk and be happy at the end. We were all able to hug it out and go on our day, and that's something I don't really feel like I ever had. There was never any resolution to any argument in my family. I mean, that's the one thing I really appreciate here. It was just literally, I'm not even getting screamed in your face, and then next day, hey, what's going on? Hey, you want to go fishing? Yeah, let's go fishing. That's really, there was no resolution to any sort of argument. And the reason why is because if you ever brought it up, it just became the same argument. It just
never stopped.
You were always better off in my family just to shut up and just forget it, because otherwise it's just going to piss both of you off again. It's going to be the same argument you have, possibly even worse.
That's not healthy. No. That's not a healthy way to deal with things. I think I think arguments are necessary. They're really healthy in relationships and family dynamics. In healthy ways, not in bad ways. Not in bad abusive ways.
Like me and Kim have had arguments. Everyone does. Especially but the one thing that I'm really keen on is never going to bed angry at each other.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'd say there's been one time out of the over 2 years where we went to bed where we were a little annoyed with each other. One time, and in my opinion, that's a success. It's a success.
It's a role of ours.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, as much as I may be upset or frustrated with what we're fighting about, my goal at the end of the day is to not retaliate, not to yell back, to always try to calm the situation down and then speak about it.
Yeah, it's like, what's the point of, you come to a point where you realize, what's the point in, what are you trying to accomplish by, like, being overly assertive about most arguments?
And that's something I didn't get from my mom's side of the family, and definitely something I didn't get from my biological father's side, or even my stepdad's side of the family. That's one thing that my biological father has said. He said he used me as even though I'm young, I have a mature outlook on life.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would say the one thing that I can appreciate the most from my family is the fact that always at the end of the day, be grateful for what you have, because it could always be worse. No matter how bad of a position you think it, you can be dead in a ditch at the end of the day, but you're still alive. It doesn't matter if you lost your job, lost your house, lost this and that. You're still alive. It could always be worse, so be grateful for what you still have. That's the thing I live by to a T.
Yeah, I think it's something. I think it's proof. You still have you're in a really good place, I think, and it's really awesome to see that stuff didn't,
it
send
took
you
a
the
lot
other
of work
way.
to get to that point.
Of course, I definitely agree. I think for a lot of people to reach where you're at, especially maturity wise, being somebody who knows that he wants to work hard and to have a family and to really buckle down. Yeah, you know what you want. You're not floating around and partying and doing what a lot of young people are doing. I know it's really old school, to do that's what I want to do. I think it's what's needed more so to actually bring a lot more logic back to the table and in a dynamic of conversations with people outside of the household.
No, I don't know if it was just because I didn't have my biological father in my life, or it was just the natural. I would say it was probably natural disconnect between me and my dad. But from a very young age, I've always wanted to be a dad myself, just so I know I can do it to my best abilities, and not necessarily to show up anyone, but just to do the best job from learning all the experiences
I see it like
had.
this. This is how I see it. It's interesting to be able to be a person to... I think when you come from a family like that, your goal as somebody who comes from a family like that is to ensure that your family will not be like that.
That's
and to set a precedent of good family.
Yeah, I can agree with that, because my parents, I come from divorced parents, and so I grew up thinking, yeah, I need to be better than this. Divorce is not an option.
I told Kim, if we marry, no, you're not.
Yep.
You'd have to do something really horrid for me to want to.
Yeah, I'd rather have you kill me.
Pretty much.
Just take a gun and just shoot me. Just go shh. It's okay.
Yeah. But just here's the gun. Just
if something happens
my head.
that's worthy of that, like, it's got to be. That's what I would rather have.
Yeah.
Because You can have if you hate me that much, just kill me and take all my money, because at least I'll be somewhere else. Because I don't want to live the rest of my life in misery.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I think divorce brings a lot of pain.
Oh yeah, and it just destroys more lives than it does, make it
destroys.
happy.
It's like a fractured. It's like just a fracture in the earth.
I could say the only time divorce would be like a reasonable option is when the person abusively tricked you into it, or abusively
I totally
forced you
think
in.
that anything.
Those situations do happen,
abuse.
and I can't.
Yeah, there's a lot of situations.
Yeah, but I mean, for those people that went in happily, that went in, the best of their abilities, give it everything, dude. Like everything. I will fight tooth and nail for my relationship. I'm not even kidding.
It's no longer about you anymore because it's about the kids.
Yeah.
Well,
not even
kids.
that.
If you don't have kids, I mean,
say we're infertile for some reason. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, my connection with her has been the best thing I've ever experienced.
I think that it's important because people relate relationships to, it's 50-50. Like, no, come on, like, no, it's 100%.
I took that from you.
Yeah, it's 100%. And if somebody's only given 20, it's your job to carry their 20 and your 100.
See, the one
and provide the extra 80.
The one thing that really annoys me, not that my friends do it to be assholes on purpose, but my outlook is I'm gonna spoil the crap over her whether I have $1 in my pocket or I have $1 million in my pocket. I literally buy her everything and I forget about myself. Not necessarily I don't have self-worth for myself. I just personally don't require a lot.
I know, but you should.
A lot. But when I do spend something, it's usually ridiculous. Like I she's probably gonna kill me right now because she doesn't know. I spent about $500 on a toolbox. So yeah, she's like, it's your money, you're pay for it. But
No, I think although you don't buy yourself things, I think it's still an equal relationship.
Yeah, because you do it for me. At the end of the day.
Give right back.
Yeah, I mean, you got me. You literally, you're the reason why I know who my biological father is to this day.
Yeah,
and that is something I can literally. No one else is gonna be able to hold like a candle to that. Not even close.
Not even. Yeah, that's really awesome.
Even just the emotional connection, being able to express my deepest issues that have been not necessarily just caused by this, but caused by everything. And I don't want to make you my therapist, but really you have been. You've made me a better version of what I was and a happier man.
Well, it's the goal when you're in a relationship.
Oh yeah, to better each other.
The goal is to see somebody who makes you want to be a better person, not to change yourself to be what they want, to change yourself what you see that they need, because that's the most important thing I think you need to understand about somebody when you pick somebody who you want to marry, is that you understand what's necessary in their lives and seeing if you actually facilitate that, and if you don't, you're obviously not the right person.
Oh yeah, I can totally agree with that. So my previous relationship and her previous relationship, we were both very constricted by our partners. Like the one thing that would really get on my nerves is that when she asked if she can dye her hair or wear certain clothes, I told her, I am not your master. I'm not your slave owner. You do what you want. Just don't leave me for someone else. You can literally go in. It also just don't go in very inappropriately.
Yeah.
I mean, just have respect for yourself and for me. But you want to dye your hair, you don't have to ask me. Just you want to get your nails. I don't care. You want to go buy really lacy clothes? I don't care. Just have self-respect for yourself and respect for me. Mm-hmm. And if you have anything, let me know. But don't ask like I'm your owner. I mean, that's
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it was just like a shock to her because she wasn't allowed to dye her hair in previous relationship or anything. Nothing. She couldn't do anything. I mean, but like it started some seriously bad arguments to begin our relationship. You guys probably know this, but we broke up like 2 or 3 times in really bad ways because it was just we were both so used to really bad relationships.
Yeah. And
being controlled. We didn't know how to deal with it. But we've learned through coping and going back to church a lot of things from others.
I think at the end of the day, I just always wanted you happy, and that's why I looked for your dad for you, because I knew that it would bring some wholeness or completeness to your life. Even if he wanted nothing to do with you, I knew at the end of the day that it didn't matter, because you would have at least knew who he was, and you would have known that he was a complete deadbeat.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the way I looked at it, it didn't matter if he wanted to be to know me. Just the fact that I knew who he was is all I needed. At the end of the day, my whole goal was to find out who he was, to find out his medical history. That's all I really cared about at the end of the day. And I told him that the first thing. I was like, I'm not here to ask you for money. I'm not here to ask you to pay 18 years of child support that you never paid for. Nothing. That's not what I'm here for.
You're here for information.
I'm here for these things at the very minimum. If you can give these to me, I'd be very happy.
And I think I remember the night you sent him a message.
Oh,
the
that
first
was
message
a
you
stressful
ever sent
night
him.
for me.
I remember sitting in the kitchen, and I remember you debating if you wanted to message him.
I almost did it.
And I really told you that we went through all of this. At the end of the day, at least you knew that you tried.
Yeah.
If he blocked you, if he rejected you, at least you knew that you had tried. And you knew that you found him. And you can find deeper information about him because you knew who he was, you knew his birthday, you knew all this information that you never knew, in the beginning.
I would say one thing I kind of skipped over on accident. Back to, growing up and stuff, when you were, like Jordan was asking about information, the only thing that I ever remember being told up until high school was just his first and last name and his approximate age. The thought never crossed my mind to see if I had any siblings. My friend asked me, do you think he has any siblings? I was like, wait, why have I? It was a big thing. I was like, wait a minute, why have I never thought of this?
You can do that.
Yeah, that's right. You can have other kids. And we went to my mom. We went straight. This is like one of the very few times I went straight to my mom. I was like, wait a minute, does he have kids? He's just like, oh yeah, I thought I told you that. No, you didn't tell me.
Told me nothing.
And I was like, well, how many did he say he had? She's like, well, he told me he had 6. I'm like, my jaw dropped so hard, I literally freaked out and walked outside.
So was that like a feeling of like, oh wow, I finally have?
I didn't know what to feel. I didn't know whether to feel happy, sad, angry, depressed. It wasn't like my mom hid it from me. If I would have asked, she would have told me clearly because I asked her. It was just the thought never crossed my mind.
So was a big part of that maybe the fear, or like maybe you didn't know what to say because maybe they had a part of his life that you thought about?
No, I mean, I never really dwelled on it much more than that. It was just a joke at that point. I just repeated that exact situation like I just did. I didn't like to dwell on it. Like I said, because every time I did, especially younger, it was a happy place. But like Jordan said, as I got older, it became a very dark place for me. It became a pit of sadness.
It's because it was still a hole that was like,
it was
a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
It was a part of you that you couldn't discover, or you didn't have any information about. And the thing about you, all of us at that age, we crave information about learning about who we are and who we were supposed to be.
And it's not like we didn't try to find. My parents tried to find me one time. I don't know if they hired someone, but they couldn't find anything on him. I tried to look for myself in high school. My friends, we spent a literal week straight instead of playing video games like a high school normally does during the summer. We literally spent a week from sun up to sundown looking for this man. All over the internet, we called up libraries, we called up morgues, we called up a lot of places, just nothing. We couldn't find anything. One thing we never thought though was to look at prison records. Yeah, that would have been an easy way to find him. Not to put him in a bad light, but like you mean this guy? Yeah. I don't look at him a bad way for people making mistakes. I'm not gonna hate him for his bad choices. I've technically been put in handcuffs and put in the back of a cop car, so never got charged with it. It was because we were on this abandoned house where we were sitting on top of the roof looking at the stars while my friends were smoking pot at middle school age.
Oh, how dare they!
I wasn't, because I was too afraid to be killed and murdered by my family. So you should have seen my grandfather when I got my ears pierced when I was young. He grabbed me it almost pulled it out.
Oh, man.
So I was more scared of being killed than I was of enjoying and doing things with my friends. So at least that's how it saw.
The most rebellious thing I did in my house was getting a tattoo. That was probably the most rebellious thing.
Does your mom have a tattoo?
Yeah, but like my dad didn't want me to get one, and he was really, really, really against it. And then for my birthday, my 18th birthday, my friend Steven, he told me he would pay for a tattoo on my birthday, and my 18th birthday, he's like, hey, text me. He's like, hey, you want to get a tattoo? And I was like, yep.
See, my grandfather was very similar. I grew up, because my mom was young. She had me at 18. I grew up back and forth between my parents and my grandparents' house. I literally spent the whole summer with them, do this and that. Sometimes I spent a couple school years with them. Due to complications, like I said, between my stepdad. But a lot of it, I still don't have tattoos to this day because I was too scared to get tattoos, because it was no tattoos, no piercings. and oh yeah, don't be gay. But yeah, that was pretty much the things. Oh yeah, very very like, oh, you'll pretty much I'll kill you. I'll skin you. I'll flip your skin over and reattach it. And that's what you got now. You're not attaching it. Yeah, not like he was being legitimately serious, but that's kind of the aspect.
The mentality of the day.
Yeah, especially like, I mean, this, we're talking about a man that at 5 years old has been working. Like he was. I remember the stories of him telling me he was in junkyards taking brakes off of cars and going and replacing people's brakes.
Man,
at 5 years old.
Different time way back.
Oh
then.
yeah. Oh, I mean, he changed. I mean, he's a very very difficult person. Very difficult, very stubborn, very ignorant. But he's a very loving person at the same time. He takes care of everyone. But, yeah.
So, you met up with your dad, and, I mean, that was, you were saying it was, like, surreal, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
What did he have to say? I mean, let me know. What?
Well, actually, the coincidence, I actually asked him to write, how he felt from the beginning of first finding out about me to the end.
Oh,
now,
wow.
I'm going to read this word for word, so take his spelling.
Oh, is this the first time?
Yeah, this is the first time
Okay, so
this.
we got a premiere
So
here.
I haven't even read this myself.
All right.
Yet, and he's been a little.
What's your biological dad's name?
His name's James White.
James White.
Yes,
This is
very
CableTime.
very bland name.
Talking to you, and John's about to read your letter. So here it is.
So this comes from my biological dad. This is I asked him to describe what it was like first finding out about me to now. So I'm gonna read this from the beginning. So let's start the morning of May 13th. I wake up to believe to be a scam by a young man claiming he's my son. I still had that feeling up until he mentioned that he found me through the only living child that has my name on her birth certificate. First, I was overwhelmed with happiness and then great sadness. I still find myself in disbelief at times that I have a son of 21 years old that I never knew existed till the day in May. But at the same time, I'm grateful that you, John, myself, were raised by your mom and stepdad and grandparents and not around me. At the time of your birth, I was in one of the darkest times in my life. I know with all my heart that I would have destroyed any and all bonds that we could have developed or had. Or maybe you wouldn't be the upstanding young man you are and have become today. And for that, I am truly sorry, but I will not lie to you and try to hide what I am from and what I was. I don't feel bad for not being in your life, but I feel truly blessed that you didn't have the negative influence of my life. I have been enjoying the hell out of our conversations through Messenger. It's been a real privilege talking to you and to hear some of the things that you are going on, the things that you're doing and that are going on in your life at the moment. I'm grateful that he at least wants to talk with that I want to talk with him and want to meet with him in the near future, and he's looking very far forward to it.
Wow.
My whole, I don't know if you noticed, but like my whole heart kind of dropped there for a minute.
Wow.
It was a little hard to read through that for me personally. So.
Well, we got through it. I wouldn't have been able to. I don't think.
That's really awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think I agree with him. I think I agree with. I agree that he was probably not a good dude, but I think he wanted the best for you.
And that's something that, like, it really helps my outlook again. Being grateful for what I was given.
Yeah.
I never had him, but as he said, I would have been worse. Possibly. Not guaranteed, but... And possibly
yeah, it could have happened.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see a lot of growth in the next, 5 years or so, because I read this today, that between the ages of 12 and 18 are, crucial, essential, milestones that you should be going through, such as, breaking away from the dependence of your parents and finding your own identity. And I feel like you probably had some of that robbed from you because of just trying to figure out, who your dad was or what he was like, and just filling your head with all these questions. And so I feel like now that you're done with that season, that you can finally...
I think you're going to experience some growth.
Yeah,
you really start experiencing some self,
you'll really start to figure out who you are.
Yeah, I mean, even since when I first started talking to him, I mean, You should have seen the smile. I had a smile on my face, like a big, stupid grin
Like
for like a
dumb
week.
kid,
for like
huh?
a week. It felt like I
That's
was
really,
a 5-year-old
really
in a candy
happy,
store or a
man.
toy store.
Yeah.
It was like the first time going into Toys R Us when you were never told you were allowed to, being as
man.
a lower poverty kid that grew up. I don't even remember how enough times I can count on probably one hand how many times I've been in Toys R Us growing up. It was like that moment again, like the excitement. Oh my God, there's toys everywhere. That big grin on my face, and it's changed. It definitely. I will tell you this. It definitely boosted my relationship, with Kim. Like, I was a happier person, which made her happier. Even when things were bad, it was just and then I've noticed a lot more growth with myself. You have to talk about that. Even in the short period of time, I've almost like I'm even more grateful than I was before, which sounds redundant, but I am. I really am. So, and even when things don't go the way I want them, I'm like, okay, well, that's just what it was meant to be. God said that this is how it is
right now.
And like with our own wedding, we were supposed to get married in December. Now it won't be until next December.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
2020. Join the 2020 club. Yeah.
You want to put on that wedding certificate?
Really. But
I think it's a bad omen at this point.
Yeah, it probably would have made our relationship doomed at that
Dude,
point.
yeah, I would.
Nail in the
It
coffin.
was a good call. Thank you.
Yeah.
2020 did something good. It made you realize it's not a good year.
Yeah, well, that and then we tried to do premarital counseling back in February. That never happened. Now it's like, well, we're gonna do it for you, but now it won't be until mid-January. I'm like,
Okay.
I'm not. I was like, I'm not even gonna be frustrated about this. It is what it is. I'm just grateful that's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's a great. Actually, I'd say that's a great. It's a perfect way to start next year.
Oh yeah.
I think I remember, like, going back on that. I remember before we even moved down here, I remember looking at John. I remember telling him, maybe God's just saying, wait for a minute.
Yeah.
And I think we just finally got that confirmation with this whole premarital is God's telling us to wait. There's a reason he wants us to wait. It's not our season.
Yeah, we definitely feel like it's a wait because when it was just me and her, the amount of stress we went through with, especially with our roommate that left, paying so much money and debt and bills and this and that. We didn't know if it was a wait or if it was you guys might as well kiss each other goodbye. See you later. We didn't know, but as we've come down here and the acceptance I felt from you guys, it's definitely more of a wait.
It makes me really happy.
That's how it feels.
I really want you to understand that. That's what we're about here. That's what I'm about. That's
what
I want.
Sgrois are.
I want people to. Yeah, the Sgrois are all about family dynamics, man, and you can be you can call us bigots and old fashioned, but I like good old dynamics where
I wouldn't even call you that.
things.
I grew up in a pretty libertarian area with certain schools I've been in, and personally, growing up, I was never political anyways. I've never really been political, but even if you guys don't have, the thing I appreciate the most is even if you guys have a different view than someone, as long as the other person on the other end is respectful, even if you feel like they're moronic at times, you guys can agree to disagree. That's something I really appreciate about you guys.
It's just we've lost the art of discussing anything
without wanting to chop each other's head off.
with a major sector of the entire nation, and it's become a really big disappointment. For us, because how do we keep progressing as a civilization if we can't even talk?
Yeah, I mean, even that's
it's
something I want to carry on to my future children.
Yeah, that's why I want to set a different precedent for mine.
The thing I want to carry on to my future children is, like I said, be grateful. The major thing I learned from everyone in my life. Everyone. The other thing is, whether you're left, right, this, that, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, as long as no one's infringing upon your rights and your safety and your own things, just agree to disagree.
Yeah.
At that point. As long as they are not hurting you, you care about your livelihood, agree to disagree and respect them.
So I think one more thing before I think we're wrapping up. It's been really awesome. I've really been happy to hear a lot about your biological dad and just the dynamic of
I'm glad you guys
life is
listened.
like. I have one more question. If you could tell me one of the scariest things you think that have ever happened to you in your life and tell me that story.
Does it have to be father related?
No, it doesn't. I think this is the
the
gotcha.
Yeah. I'd say there's kind of two stories, really.
All right.
They both happen because I grew up in the woods. Washington's a very heavily dense forest area.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally 5 minutes you're in the woods, no matter where you go. One of them they both kind of happen to relate to my biological father and even my real dad. There was a time where I went out with some cousins of mine where we were camping. They were camping next door to us, and they told me that they told my family, "Oh yeah, we talked to them. It's okay, let's go." And I will hide your bike because I was alone with a bicycle in the bushes so no one steals it. So because they wanted me to show them this trail I knew about that went with my uncle. We go up it, and then they played a dirty trick on me and abandoned me in the middle of the trail.
Oh, man.
Wow.
I was freaking out.
How old were you?
Elementary, I was second grade. Yeah, second grade, because this got me grounded for the whole school year. Everything taken away.
Oh.
I had a bed and a blanket. And that was it. So,
man.
And I think I was so traught and upset. I don't think they were listening to what I was saying. Not in a bad way or anything, but but they came back, and then we went back, and then my family had no idea I was gone. I was gone for 2 hours.
Man.
And they were freaking out because we're in the middle of the woods camping with not that many people there. We had 13 quads at this time, or no, we had 5 or 6 quads. My grandparents had quite a bit, and they're all flying high up and down, screaming my name. Yeah, it was terrifying. And mind you, this is not a joke. They had a trailer that they put all the quads on, right? My mom went over. My dad went over, bent me over his knee, pulled my pants down, spanked me, and everyone was in line. They all spanked me one at a time.
What?
Yeah, I got my ass whooped by every single person. Every single person. My ass was beat. Right? I couldn't sit down for like a day at least. I mean, there was that one, and then, like I said, I got grounded. I got my PS2 taken away from me. I wasn't allowed to have friends over. I wasn't allowed to do this, that. Also, wasn't allowed to go to Cub Scouts for a little bit, which sucked. But I got in some serious trouble for that one. And then the other thing, years later, I was probably middle school when this one happened. We were geocaching.
Oh wow!
So
yeah,
you ever gone geocaching?
Yeah,
I love it. It's so much fun.
Before. Yeah, the times that we did do it. The most interesting one I think I found was above a homeless man's camp.
Oh, really?
I don't think knew it was there or didn't care.
Off topic to what I'm talking about, but I was sitting at home watching some of my siblings while my grandparents, my parents went out geocaching with my aunt and uncle, and they thought they found a head in a bag at one point.
Oh.
But it wasn't. It was actually like $5,000 worth of Snap-on tools they found in a bag.
Oh wow, that's really awesome.
So,
see, it came out to work out in the end.
Yeah, they're like, oh, is this a geocache? If they went to kick it and it didn't move, they're like, oh shit, is this a dead body?
I think that's why it's in everyone's minds when they go geocaching. Is like, am I gonna find a dead body?
At least we're not in the suicide forest or nothing. But we were geocaching. Back to what I was talking about. We were geocaching, and so my grandparents. This was me, my mom, my grandfather, and grandmother. We were up because there's some geocaches in Washington that are literally deep in the forest. Like deep
I've
in
seen
the forest.
them. Mm-hmm.
Like you need to be like a professional hiker or something to get to some of these ones.
Yeah,
they're
dude.
very hard.
There's some in Gig Harbor. There's some in the bottom of the harbor.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Remember we looked it up.
Oh yeah, there's some in the middle of the water. They're on floating devices.
No,
Oh,
some of them
dive
are
down?
down. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Like out by the bridge.
I wouldn't
out by the bridge.
I wouldn't risk that personally.
Yeah.
Not with the supposed kraken that is down there.
Not with the orcas that come by.
Oh yeah, there's orcas. Yeah, they might kill you.
Anyways,
but yeah, we went
story.
to the
geocaching.
We went to the top of this one hill point because we realized the geocache was in the middle of a clear, it was a clear cut at one point that had started regrowing about probably 5 or 6 years
tall
later.
Grass field.
No. It was a clear cut in Washington is where they log a bunch of trees.
Oh, okay.
So you have heavy brush, you have trees regrowing. And so me and my grandfather started at the top end where we were running down this hill trying to get to, because he had this is back before like smartphones were really a thing. He had an actual like $400 GPS that he
and he had to put the coordinations.
He had to put the exact coordinates in, all this stuff. So we were looking, and we got separated at one point. I don't remember how it happened. And next thing I know, I'm walking. I just started to start walking. So there's no point running. I'm just I can see the road probably 400 yards from where I'm at down the hill. And I'm walking over what looks like some dead vines or something, and I fall probably 6 or 8 feet into a hole, like a legit probably
trap hole.
Something like that. It was weird because, and the thing that was scary, there's a river, there's like a small stream running by, not a river, but a stream, and it started filling up.
Oh dang!
So I'm freaking the hell out, getting soaking wet, and mind you, I was also already a heavy kid at this point because I had a health thing that happened and I gained a lot of weight, and I'm freaking out, and by God's grace I gained probably muscles of steel at that point. And I grabbed every vine, wrapped around my hand, and I pulled myself up. Mind you, I could barely do a pull up at the time. I couldn't even do a push up at the time, and I pulled myself out of this huge
that
hole.
was like some superhuman, like,
I mean, you saw Stanley's Superhumans, right? It was literally like that moment, and I was like, what the hell? I start, mind you, I wasn't allowed to cuss. I was scared of cussing. I start cussing like
there's nobody stopping you after almost dying.
And my grandfather walked by. He was like, "What are you waiting for? Come on!" I'm like, he's like, "Well, you're out of the hole." I'm like, "I fell in the hole." He's like, "Well, you're out now, so what are you complaining about?"
Let's go.
Yeah, I was like, "I just almost died." He's like, "Well, you're out of the hole now, aren't you? You're on your own." I was like, "Yeah, that's not the point." He's like, "You're fine. Just go." I'm like, "What the?"
Typical grandpa.
I mean, yeah.
Well, John, thank you for coming on to the Cable Time podcast. Thank you for sharing that, with me. I really appreciate it. Let me know about a little bit about yourself, and
I almost feel
that
happier at this point after talking about it. I mean, I've been so excited to talk about this because the only person I really told is her, and it's almost like a big stress relief for me right now. I feel
really awesome.
I actually feel happier right now. Like, I feel joy.
That makes you really happy, man. I'm glad. I really like. I like that you feel that you can come here and talk, especially to me, and feeling comfortable here. And thank you for coming on the podcast. It really is awesome.
Hope I come back.
Of course.
Maybe we'll do this another conversation and update another 5 years or so of how you've grown. But obviously, in between, have you on too.
Oh yeah.
Everybody, thank you for listening to the Cable Time podcast. This is episode 4. If you like what you heard, please like and subscribe and share this video. It really helps channel growth and allows me to gain some subscribers and just to gain some notoriety out here and to increase my, just my name. Just throw me around. I got a Twitter. You can follow me there in the link in the description. It's actually probably linked to the video somewhere. But I want to thank you all for listening. If you like what you heard again, let me know if you have any ideas in the comments, and I'll talk to you all later. Peace out.
All right, you guys have a good night.